Hello everyone, we are Group 9, Preet, Naishal, Kavish, and Michael. Our presentation examines how artificial intelligence can support construction procurement from demand validation through supplier award. Our central argument is simple. AI should accelerate analysis and organize evidence, but qualified professionals must retain authority over calculations, risk decisions, and procurement commitments. Coming to research purpose and roadmap, we had 4 research purposes: develop a controlled AI procurement model, validate material quantities, compare supplier bids using fixed weighted criteria, and identify important arithmetic or logic failures. The presentation therefore moves from procurement context and literature to our framework, controlled case study, model comparison, governance controls, and final recommendations. Next up, we have procurement. We describe procurement as the keystone because it converts engineering intent into physical construction. It determines what is purchased, from whom, at what cost, at what quality, and when it reaches the site. A small error at this stage can affect cost, schedule, and quality at the same time. Research by Abioye and Pan and Zhang shows that AI can improve construction information processing, but only when data quality and decision controls are treated as core requirements. Moving further, the research problem is that large language models process complex text quickly and often sound authoritative, yet they can hallucinate assumptions or fail in basic arithmetic. Few studies test general purpose models across a complete reinforced concrete procurement chain under identical conditions. We therefore ask 3 questions. Can the models validate quantities? Can they calculate and rank supplier bids accurately? And what human-in-the-loop controls are needed before their output can influence an actual procurement decision? Next up, we have ECLRT alignment. The study aligns with all 5 ECLRT dimensions. Engineering covers reinforcement conversion and concrete verification. Construction covers the bill of materials, fabrication, pours, and acceptance. Logistics covers lead times, deliveries, storage, and site access. Risk includes reliability, availability, payment exposure, quality, and AI error. Technology is the controlled comparison of ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude. This makes the study a construction management problem supported by AI, not simply a software comparison. Talking about literature review. The literature gave us a consistent message. AI can improve construction analysis, purchasing, supply chain management, and decision support, but adoption depends on organizational readiness and human governance. Saka and colleagues emphasize validation of GPT outputs. Kosasi and colleagues emphasize explainability and auditability. Spreitzenbarth and colleagues identify procurement capability requirements. Together, these sources shaped our controlled input, independent verification, and human approval approach. In continuance, the literature also shows that different AI methods fit different procurement phases. Fuzzy case-based reasoning can support contract or supplier selection during demand definition. Generative AI can extract and organize unstructured quotation data for bid comparison. Natural language processing can identify high-risk clauses during contract review. Our contribution is to connect these separate use cases into one controlled procurement sequence, rather than treat them as isolated tools. Now we have evidence, benefits, and barriers. The expected benefits are faster quantity and bid analysis, earlier risk identification, more consistent scoring, and better documentation. The barriers are equally important: poor data, version conflicts, hidden assumptions, and weak explainability. Therefore, each benefit needs a control: independent calculation checks, explicit assumption records, and a complete audit trail. Human professionals still provide context, ethical judgment, domain intuition, and legal accountability. Moving further, our preliminary framework has 3 stages. First, controlled inputs, approved quantities, supplier quotations. decision weights, and mandatory criteria. Second, AI procurement services, demand validation, plan drafting, bid normalization, scoring, and risk screening. Third, a verified decision package containing audited calculations, a bid comparison, risk register, recommendation, and draft purchase order controls. Humans retain contextual understanding, domain intuition, ethical accountability, and legal responsibility. Now talking about the layered framework. The layered framework makes those safeguards operational. Data and policy are frozen first. AI then performs bounded task services. Deterministic formulas or spreadsheets independently verify quantities, totals, and weighted scores. Only after that can the system support best value ranking, sensitivity checks, sourcing strategy, and exception reporting. The final layer is governance, technical approval, commercial approval, purchase order release, audit records, and feedback for future procurement events. Now, in procurement workflow phases, we applied the framework through 3 workflow phases. Analyze demand means validating quantities and allowances, creating the bill of materials, and deciding packaging and schedule needs. Evaluate the market means normalizing bids, checking compliance, applying approved weights, and testing risk or sourcing options. Prepare the award means compiling the comparison and risk register, recommending a supplier, and drafting controls for human approval. Successful AI integration is a strategic organizational process, not simply a software installation. Now comes the case study of a residential building. The controlled case was a ground plus 2 reinforced concrete residential building model developed in STAAD Pro. The structural baseline contained 4 FE 500 reinforcement sizes. Their combined force was 24,650 newtons, equivalent to approximately 2,513 kilograms using mass equals weight divided by 9.81. The net M25 concrete volume was 27.20 cubic meters. We kept these engineering quantities separate from the procurement adjustment so the later 5% allowance remained visible and auditable. Now in supplier quotations. 3 suppliers were compared on price and non-price criteria. Supplier B offered the lowest unit rates, the lowest surcharge, and therefore the lowest total cost, but required advance payment, had 5-day steel delivery, only 78% reliability, and conditional concrete availability. Supplier C had the highest prices and surcharge, but offered 1-day delivery, 96% reliability, confirmed concrete, and the strongest quality record. All 3 had the required mill certificate, so each passed the mandatory quality document gate. Now comes the most important part: integrating LLMs into procurement. For a fair comparison, ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude received identical quantities, supplier data, instructions, and scoring requirements. A spreadsheet formed the verified baseline, and we applied 1 fixed 5% procurement allowance. Each model completed 3 bounded tasks: convert and validate the quantity takeoff, prepare the bill of materials, schedule inventory controls and quality documentation, and calculate supplier costs, apply weighted scoring, assess risk, and recommend an award. This design tests repeatability rather than presentation style. AI-enabled BOQ analysis and supplier benchmarking can improve procurement and budget control. From the LLMs, the verified totals were approximately 335,129 rupees for supplier A, 318,146 for supplier B, and 349,007 for supplier C. ChatGPT and Gemini matched these totals. Claude overstated supplier A by 21 rupees and, more seriously, understated supplier B by 100,000 rupees. We then applied fixed weights, cost 30%, delivery and reliability 20% each, quality 15%, payment 10%, and availability 5%. Supplier B received the highest cost score, but its delivery, reliability, payment, and availability penalties reduced its total to 66.20%. Supplier A ranked second at 84.38%. Supplier C ranked first at 92.65% because its delivery, reliability, quality, and confirmed availability outweighed its higher price. The key result is that lowest price and best value are not the same decision. Now the key strengths and limitations. The models showed different profiles. ChatGPT achieved the strongest overall mathematical accuracy and the most complete risk coverage, although it questioned a valid formula before applying it correctly. Gemini completed the core calculations but applied cost normalization inconsistently and introduced unsupported assumptions, such as stock length limits and supplier distances. Claude produced the clearest presentation and reasonable qualitative logic, yet its arithmetic errors distorted the evaluation. This directly supports Saka and colleagues. Fluent professional language must never be mistaken for verified technical accuracy. Next up, we have findings against the literature. The experiment largely confirmed the literature. All three models converted the controlled quantities correctly, showing the value of structured inputs. ChatGPT connected demand, planning, risk, and award, extending the lifecycle integration argument. Gemini's unsupported values demonstrated hallucination and prompt sensitivity. Claude's hidden cost error strengthened the case for explainability and human oversight. Finally, Supplier C's results showed how multi-criteria decision support can produce a defensible best value recommendation. Now the LLM weaknesses, controls, and limitations. We do not claim universal model rankings. The study used one controlled building, a fictitious supplier dataset, general purpose models, fixed prompts, and no live BIM, ERP, or e-procurement integration. However, every observed weakness produced a practical control. Claude's arithmetic error requires spreadsheet recalculation and a variance flag. Gemini's invented values require an assumption and exception log. Formula criticism requires frozen scoring rules. Incomplete risk coverage requires a standard checklist. Overconfident recommendations require qualified human approval. In short, LLMs are probabilistic engines, not deterministic spreadsheets. Coming to conclusion and recommendations. Our conclusion is that AI can support bounded procurement tasks successfully, but uneven assumptions, completeness, and numerical reliability prevent autonomous use. Best value analysis was more defensible than lowest price selection. We recommend beginning with controlled quantity, planning, and supplier analysis tasks, standardizing prompts, data structures, formulas, and weights, independently recalculating every material quantity, cost, and supplier score, and recording assumptions, exceptions, prompt versions, and approvals. Integration with BIM, ERP, or e-procurement should follow only after controlled pilot testing. Our references. So, these sources provide the academic foundation for our construction, procurement, risk, explainability, and AI governance analysis. To conclude, use AI for speed, synthesis, and decision support, but release procurement commitments only through verified calculations, transparent assumptions, and accountable human authority. Thank you for listening.